here's Daisy Domergue. She's wanted dead or alive for murder. When that sun comes out, I'm taking this woman to hang. Is there anybody here committed to stopping me from doing that?
Hello and welcome to the Deep Focus podcast. This is a film podcast and TV podcast, and we're looking to get people from inside the film industry to talk about film and from a more kind of analytical and, cause and effect standpoint. So I'm joined by Dann Emmons.
Hello. Hey.
And so what do you do, Dan?
So I guess I'm a director and cameraman on various things. I work on music videos, a bit of commercial work and film as well. So we're just about to do our first feature film at my company. All right, brilliant. Sort of and I'm joined by Florence Rowland as well. What do you?
I'm a television researcher, mainly factual documentaries. I've just finished working on a year-long project about wine, which was very nice. And I am currently working on a history documentary about the slums of Victorian London.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, a bit
Chip
grimy.
Yeah. I was going to do a wine pun, but I thought against it. But so today we're talking about the Hateful Eight. There will be spoilers, so, but we are going to go quite in depth, so you have kind of a new kind of outlook on the film if you do get to watch it again. So, before we start, did anyone watch it in 70mm or?
No.
I actually didn't. My local cinema does not have the provision.
Yeah, no. I think the only place in England you can watch in 70mm is Leicester Square.
Yeah.
So it is not very easy. So I guess we watched the version. I watched the version with an intermission, but it wasn't 70mm. So I'm a bit confused because I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought it was one or the other. No, I watched. Mine didn't have an intermission.
Oh, mine had an intermission. Yeah. Okay, that's weird. So I guess. I don't know. There's loads of versions of that film floating about. So, but anyway, what are your thoughts on the film, and what did you observe from the?
That's a big question.
It is a 3-hour film.
I guess,
so there's a lot to observe.
Off, it is a long movie.
Yeah.
It's the 3-hour runtime. Is it 5 chapters? It's made up of.
It's 5 chapters.
I kind of lost count. It's.
I think there's 6 chapters actually. Sorry.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone's sort of saying about it, and I'm going to probably get a lot of hate in the comments or something, but a lot of people are saying, you may not like it, but it's typically Tarantino, and you're going to see a Tarantino movie, and therefore you can forgive certain elements of filmmaking. But it's actually not typically Tarantino in a lot of ways, which I don't know if I should go straight into now, because it'd be a long...
I've got something to add on that, in that working in television, we're obsessed with ratings, and, my major concern in what I do, and I know that film and television are very, very different disciplines, and in some ways you go to the cinema as a more invested audience, but being obsessed with that audience engagement, at what point are they switching off? I really felt myself, switching off. If it had, I'd have, if I could have turned it took so long for things to get going, and I really, really felt like, yes, okay, it's Tarantino, and there are lots of things that we should let slip, but I was begging for some other collaborative person to sort of maybe rein him in a little bit, and it felt so much like I was just dancing to
the one thing
personality.
I noticed, which again I agree with the points. For me, for the first half of the film, I felt very much detached from the experience. I didn't feel very interested. I think the point where I got interested was actually just when Marcus is talking about his kind of experience with one of the soldiers' sons. And that's when I was getting invested in it. That's when it ran back into Tarantino-esque. But I think, probably to give a bit of backstory to the story, so it's about these 8 characters that come together in this quite secluded situation. Yeah. And the idea, I guess, very much similar to Reservoir Dogs, and I'm a big fan of Tarantino's work, and I love Reservoir Dogs. Is that you put these people in a situation and you see what happens, and that's kind of the crux of
and there's organic as well, which is
and exciting. It's sort of here are these characters, something crazy is going to happen because it's Tarantino, something's happening, but I had no reason to wait because it was kind of I said earlier to Flo, it's kind of a whodunit without the whodunit, because it's
got
like
Agatha Christie at one point, wasn't it? Which made me giggling as well. It was
Agatha Christie, but one of the main influences was Agatha Christie's, I think it's 10 Little, the name keeps changing, but it's And Then There Were None, that story.
Yeah.
So it is actually heavily based off an Agatha Christie novel.
They didn't actually bring in the mystery until halfway through.
Yeah.
Like there's a pivotal scene, and this is a spoiler, where someone poisons the coffee.
Yeah,
and
that's a great
when
one.
things kick off. But until that point, I had no reason to suspect anyone, to wonder what was going on.
Yeah.
So that they should have brought that to the forefront of the film.
Because
and
it
the
didn't
whole
make it
thing.
a big enough moment. I felt like, usually if there's something like that's a pivotal moment, it's going to be set up at the beginning, and because it happened halfway through, I almost didn't really pay much attention to it. I just took it as like another part of, but actually it was way more important than I realised at the beginning.
The issue I found is that like the first half is a lot of exposition, and Tarantino's actually really usually good with that because he kind of mixes it in with the characters. You don't realize what's exposition and what's them just kind of talking a lot. And there's a bit in the coach right at the beginning where they're just going along, and they're in the coach, and exactly for a good half an hour to get to the main meat of the story. And I was just like, sure, this information is going to be relevant, but at the time, that information about him escaping the prison and all that is not relevant. And
it's not something you don't. It's not something I need to know to start the film. I can learn it throughout.
I kind of felt I was like trying to figure out why is this boring. It's because this. It's because honestly.
At that point, I actually look at my notes and I've just got bored now.
Because I was just like, because there's nothing I want to learn, there's no intrigue, there's nothing at the moment which is really hooking me.
Well, I tell you what the one thing that I really picked up on that with the characters is that even though the acting is stellar and absolutely every single person delivers a wonderful performance, from Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy to, like Tim Roth is fantastic as well. It's just that unfortunately, even though I was enjoying watching them, I didn't care about the characters, so there wasn't that hook. So when the violence does come, which is which is typically Tarantino, spatters everywhere. I was saying to Dan before, it was more like watching just inanimate paint splatterings than actually someone's blood.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was maximum kind of effect, minimum effect, maximum kind of spectacle.
Yeah.
There was no substance.
But I think that's part of like Tarantino's thing of kind of trivializing the big things and making the small things a bit, more meaningful. But I do understand. I think that's also. I don't know if that's part of the kind of appeal of it, where it's like because everyone's essentially like this cartoonish villain.
Yeah.
Like, do I root for these people?
But you can hate someone and still not want them to die. Whereas I was like, do you know what? You can kill everyone in here. Actually, it would be quite good.
Yeah.
And actually, on that point, coming back to what I was saying a second ago about it's not typically a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Is that because in most Tarantino movies you have these characters who are completely flawed, who are completely a mess, and crazy shit goes down, and it's quite fun. But under the surface, there's always something interesting morally going on.
Yeah.
Like there's always a moral struggle between the characters, whether it's I forget the character's name in Pulp Fiction.
Which
John
one?
Travolta's character.
No, that's Jules is.
But John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction is trying to figure out, how to deal with this situation. He's slightly falling for this woman, and it's all like a big moral struggle because he's doing work and he doesn't know how to balance that life and things like that going on. Django Unchained is a huge moral tale about racism and slavery.
And same goes with Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, and there's always a central character who you're kind of, even though they are flawed, you have reasons to like them because they are going through this struggle and they're acknowledging that they're in a bad place. Whereas in this film, there is no one of that caliber. Like the main character who again, spoilers, lives throughout it, starts off as this racist, awful person and becomes the hero. And I'm like, well, he's not gone through a moral struggle where he's like, oh, actually, my ways were wrong. He's still racist.
One of them fellas is not what he says he is.
What is he?
In cahoots with this one, that's what he is. One of them, maybe even two of them, is here to see Domergue goes free.
So I don't think it was a bad film by any means. It did take a long time to get to the fun bits, but when it came, it was great.
Yeah.
But the great thing I loved about it, which is the tension, which is especially the fifth chapter, which is you see what happens before I guess the first chapter, and the coffee scene where I kind of figured out like this kind of technique Tarantino uses throughout all his films, which is he gives us what could go wrong or what will go wrong, and then shows us the situation in reverse. So for instance, in Inglourious Basterds, you have, Christoph Waltz walks into the barn and you see the Jews and he's the guy who's going to kill the Jews. but you know that they're Jews there, so it kind of changes the dynamic of that scene. And then suddenly, like in Hateful Eight, you know that there's poison in the coffee, and it changes the whole dynamic. And then obviously in the 5th chapter, the big one, which is that these people are something happened to these people. You don't quite know what. Did they die? Did they? Yeah, and I was like watching, and the little bits where you see like this lady reaching up for a jar of jelly beans, and you saw earlier there's a shot where Marcus looks up and he's like, oh, there's a space over there. We don't quite understand it, but we see a jelly bean.
Yeah, there's a nice
and these little bits, and then you just kind of dawns upon you like, okay, something's happening now. Like this lady.
That's what I think made it really feel like a play for me. And I've read a lot of reviews of other people saying, there was a reading of I think the script last year, and they actually performed it as a stage piece, and I think things like that sort of foreshadowing and all those sort of things really made it feel a lot like I was watching a theatre piece.
Yeah, the way it's shot really aided all of that. It was technically brilliant.
Yes.
Forgetting the story qualms I have with it, it was technically brilliant. It was shot obviously on like Panavision 70mm, but they had refurbished old lenses that I was just telling Flo about. So they hadn't used these lenses since 1966. And they shot Ben-Hur and films like that.
With the exact same lenses?
Yeah,
or the same type
exactly
of lenses?
the same lenses and the optics. And they'd been shelved in Panavision, they just hadn't been used because modern cameras came around, they weren't compatible, and they just shelved them. And it took the DOP a trip down to Panavision just to look at the 70mm options and figure out how to achieve this. And he just walked around a corner and saw these lenses and was like, wait, I thought these didn't exist anymore. Can we please use these? The whole Panavision team got together and refurbished these lenses. And so the best thing about them is that they are like the widest lenses you can get. They're 2.71 by 1 aspect ratio.
Yeah, so in your opinion as a DOP, what does it being filmed in this aspect ratio add in terms of meaning?
I mean, the thing is I'm not sure if it was really a plan because they stumbled across it, but I guess Tarantino has always been good for adapting to a situation and using it to his benefit. But the benefit of it was that they're super wide, so you can see. And back in the day, they were used for landscapes, like Ben-Hur, big.
And some of those vistas are incredible.
Yeah.
So they're short and sharp.
They open you with those. They give you a big look at these big vistas and the big locations, set the scene really nicely. But inside the house, the haberdashery, when it is very claustrophobic and it is very, you wouldn't usually use such wide lenses because you've got this tiny little space you're working in. It gives you a real sense of everything that's going on. Yeah. And that is really pivotal, not only to, again, the element of it feeling a bit like a play, because you can see where everyone is at any given moment, but also the whole point of the film is who is doing what, who's not.
Yeah. So if you can see everyone in your peripheral vision, it aids that suspicion.
And it's that one person you can't see that's going to give it away.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah, and also the optics in the lenses help with, I won't go into too much of the science of it, but they really help with things like close-ups become really, really intense and really intimate with people because you have to go very, very close to get them to fill the frame. And also it just aids things like skin tones, like they barely use an interfusion and things like that. So it really brings out all the colours. And
do you know, talking about surface texture, there was one thing that, and it's a completely random point, but working in sort of history television, there were so many things that watching this, we'd be strung up. Historically, you think these are quite grotty, quite dirty characters. Did you notice all of their costume was really pristine? They were like Russian oligarchs. That is just so not consistent.
Not great though.
But that's what again to me made it feel like, okay, this is very much a sort of surface film. It's very much the visual spectacle, and it did make me laugh quite a lot.
What did you kind of pick up on as the film went on? What major, maybe it's visual or narrative?
I think one of the things that really struck me was, I thought, imagine this film if Samuel Jackson wasn't there. Would I still want to be watching
he
it?
Is at the forefront.
He does.
It's not that he carries it because everyone else does deliver a stellar performance as well, but I wasn't.
It's written with him in mind.
Yeah.
Tarantino loves writing Samuel Jackson. He said that before.
I would love to write Samuel Jackson.
He loves the idea of what can Samuel say this time.
Yeah.
But then going on to that point as well, the costumes, when you look at them, everyone's in quite dank, sort of dark greys and very woolly,
there's
close
palette,
to the time. Whereas Samuel L. Jackson's got this yellow flowing coat, so he's definitely, and this red tie that really
he's going to build as
the
main character.
Build as the main character. So it is his film, I think.
Yeah, I did like the kind of we've been critical of the characters and the way they kind of develop, but I did like his kind of relationship with Mannix, the possibly sheriff. I don't know if they kind of resolve that, but
no, true.
Like it could be that he's still lying, but I did like the way they kind of developed as just these people who kind of come together just out of pure survival and then end up becoming friends.
And this is maybe not a topic I know loads about and maybe shouldn't comment on, but I'm going to anyway because I'm a daredevil.
It's okay, we can edit it.
But so the whole race and female element to these films of Tarantino's that get a lot of criticism for being, very out there, very no holes barred, and he doesn't hold back on using certain words and certain phrases.
The N-bomb was
yes, exactly, and even with the female characters in his films as well. But to be honest, with a lot of it, I think one thing I quite like about his films is that he doesn't hold back, because at the end of the day, these people existed. Back in the day, people did throw the N-word around like it was nothing else. And people
also,
did do that. They didn't care about
and it was also very violent and not very good for women either, like the time. So
it's important, I think, to see that. And what's lovely about the cinema is it's a bit like car crash viewing. We're paying to go and see and experience something that hopefully none of us will ever have to live through.
It's
so and that's kind of part of it. Like you're kind of excited to see
and
the
it's
blood.
never good to kind of go back and revise history and make it seem like, but everything was great back then, like a Disney movie, but it's
America sweep
not.
under the rub mentality.
But I think it's important to see that within, and to understand it's within the context of the film. I've watched some people saying, "Oh well, my girlfriend didn't appreciate the references to the N-word all the time," and it's like, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's within that context, not.
And it's definitely I do think there's one bit with Marcus essentially getting a blowjob from a, essentially raping someone, which I think was played to shock.
Yeah, and that was very much a white man writing a character,
a
black character, because it was very it was all the stereotypes of that situation.
That was the only moment where I was like, okay, this is not as nuanced as some of the other things.
It felt like a bit of a brain ramble, didn't it? Again,
he went a grip.
Because otherwise not violence, but the kind of racism or sexism is very, I guess, like I said, nuanced and very I guess more thought out in terms of is this going to work in this context? How will people react?
Yeah, I mean, to me as well, going on to the sexism question, and again, it's not something I necessarily should be commenting on, but I'm going to, is the fact that actually I felt like that female character was quite strong. She was the only one in the know of the situation throughout the whole film, and she was sort of the manipulator of everyone else. And yes, she was getting beaten up, but she was taking it.
And you don't see you don't see really despicable female characters like her. She was the
she
stuff.
Wasn't patronising.
Do you know? I think it really struck. Have either of you guys seen The Huntsman, the Tommy Lee Jones film? That really, again, it's a similar time period actually, sort of 19th century. That's a really, really similar thing where the females they're not necessarily likable, but they're extremely strong, and actually there's a lot of brutality towards them from the men, but when you step away from the film you realise that you've just been watching a big kind of feminist piece more about the strength of the female characters in the face.
The thing I like about Tarantino is that I have a feeling when I watch his films that he doesn't really care whether you're a male or a female.
Absolutely.
He'll make you as despicable
you're just a villain.
or as violent or as or be the victim, no matter who you are. Like you watch something like Kill Bill where there's like Lucy Liu's character who's Chinese gets as brutally murdered as anyone else's character regardless of race, and same goes for Inglourious Bastards or anything.
I know, totally.
Like Inglourious Bastards is that bar scene where no matter who, essentially whether they're British, German, American,
Jewish,
everyone
whatever,
gets their bullets blown up.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that it's not really about race. Yes, these characters, it influences them, but it's writing doesn't, the story doesn't depend on them being that race. So I think I like that element. But moving on. So what did you guys think of the visuals and the composition? Especially you talk about the 70mm, but when I was watching it, I thought there were lots of shapes, triangles, and you'd see people in boxes a lot. Show if they're enclosed. I thought that was quite clever.
Compositionally I think it worked really nicely. I mean the lighting was brilliant in terms of setting those locations from cold to warm. Like the outside you felt
white.
And I was actually sat in a cinema with no heating, so I was freezing while watching the film, and I was like,
Cinema
I'm kind of like 4D cinema, I'm kind of experiencing what they are. but not to the extent. But like they kept it really nicely, like using really cool tones outside. And again, coming back to the whole Panavision thing, like they only used filters outside because inside it was just all warm lighting,
Yeah.
and they didn't need things like diffusion things, so they didn't need to dull it down at all. And you felt the contrast, and therefore you felt.
There's one thing I
inside
wanted to
that.
ask you specifically, seeing as you're a DP, that there was some kind of unrealistic lighting at some points. I mean, it's played for effect, as in like there's a bit where Marcus like kind of leans in close when he's interrogating everyone, and the light becomes again very like harsh, and it wasn't like that before. And I was just wondering, like, how do you think that it doesn't take you out the moment unless you're looking for it?
No,
it does add.
I didn't mind it so much. I feel like it just played to the characters in that particular moment, and they, when it was harsher, it was those characters having a more dominating effect, or more mysterious when they were slightly darker. I mean, the use of hats was really nice because that sort of shadowed people's faces when you weren't wanting to look at them. It sort of hid people quite nicely. However, there were moments I did see, and you know what, like. The DOP who shot it is Oscar winning, and he's amazing, and he's fantastic, and what he did with it is brilliant. But there were moments when outside there was like, we were walking through the snow and there were these big lights coming from where?
Yeah, like there's a scene where someone's going outside, I think,
to
chuck the guns away.
Yeah.
And from behind the house, it's just like this glow.
Yeah, and I'm
I
like,
was
where
like,
is that coming
where
from?
where is that coming from?
But did you like kind of
that
see that and
electricity.
think, okay, maybe with films sometimes there's unrealistic lighting, but we are supposed to suspend our sense of disbelief.
Yeah.
It is a film. But
I didn't
did you
mind
feel
it.
it was just
Yeah,
totally
I didn't. I didn't mind, but I was just kind of
Impacted it,
asking,
that's
like, what did you guys think? And because it can, in some situations, if you're looking for that thing or if you're aware of that thing, it can take you out of the moment. But I think the way it's played and the way it's shown, you're kind of it's part of the film, and it doesn't feel out of character of the film's character.
Yeah, and they have this issue of, because they're shooting 70mm as opposed to like digital, they don't have the option of fixing it in post, which I know is a phrase that gets thrown around, everyone's heard it, but what it really means is that when you're shooting something in digital, because of the time restraints you are on your shoot and because of all the elements, some things can be allowed, like for example, okay, that I think looks right, and if that wall hasn't got enough light on it, we can bring it up a little bit in post. Or if this window's overblown, and I'm quoting the DOP here, like if this window's overblown, you can take it down, track it and take it down. And he's said this himself, like all these elements are things that you can allow in film and in digital, and just say like, okay, well they can fix that, and I would just we need to crack on. Whereas in film you can't.
Yeah.
So I think the idea that he's lighting everything up and he's making sure it's all as pristine as it can be, and you see all the elements you need to see, I think comes from that.
I don't think Quentin Tarantino had a digital intermediary on this, did he? He just kind of went straight into editing. Yeah. But yeah, so in terms of the kind of in terms of movement, the one thing I quite liked is the transition from dialogue to action, which is always. This is the thing you notice a lot with Quentin Tarantino's stuff, which is when it's dialogue, it's fairly standard coverage, maybe a two-shot, or essentially mostly he does wides because he likes having everyone kind of converse. And not really cutting to close-ups. But with this, so it's shot standard for dialogue. Everything's kind of, editing's kind of slow. Not many cuts. But then as soon as you get into action, things become super stylized. The shots become much more dynamic and all that, and I think that created a great sense of like volatility and like, oh wow, that's happening now. And
well, it's something I quite like to call, which it was done before this film, but I like to call the Drive effect. So in the film Drive, the whole film is build up until that moment.
It's simmering, isn't it? You really
things
feel
explode, and it really hits you because it's all slow and but it's really nice, and there's context and it's story, but it's all slow, and you're like you plod along, you enjoy the intimacy of the characters and the build up.
You enjoy,
but then when that happens, it hits you like a train because it's just so explosive,
and it's
so
also
quick, and it doesn't stop until the end.
And it's also such a quick change of pace because again, you've gotten used to this kind of standard coverage, shot, reverse shot kind of thing, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, there's like blood, there's movements really fast, you're cutting every 3 seconds. So I think that really added to the kind of feel of the action and the volatility of the whole film.
Yeah, made it much more dynamic.
When the handbill says dead or alive, the rest of us shoot you in the back up on top of a perch somewhere and bring you in dead over saddle. But when John Roof, the hangman, catches you, you don't die from no bullet in the back. When the hangman catches you, you hang.
what is the kind of line? So there's a bit where they go out and they're hammering these kind of poles into the snow, and that goes on for quite a long time. Not longer than a minute, but again, and I'm like, should I forgive this? Because it feels like, it's arduous even for me to watch.
You're almost empathizing with
the situation. Or should I be like, well, this is actually quite boring. So which one am I saying is, can I ignore the fact that it's quite boring? Or should I be like, okay, it's boring, but, it's giving me a sense of that kind of struggle they're going through. So, I don't know, what are your thoughts on, like, that balance?
Yeah, I think it was constantly switching between that balance. And I'm still not sure, there's... sometimes we put ourselves through quite distressing things when we watch a film in order to,
immerse ourselves.
Receive, a bit like Titanic, who actually, if you think about it, who wants to go and sit in a room and cry after the rehearsal. But lots of people did it. They did it in droves. They broke box office records. Yeah. So, and I'm constantly on the fence with that idea. I really, I think it's very clever the way that you can manipulate your audience into empathising with the characters through how uncomfortable we feel. Yeah. So it's a learning journey, but it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 3-hour movie that could have been 2 hours.
I think that too. Yeah.
I think they could have gone moved through it much more concisely, much more snappy.
I think there's a lot of.
It felt self-indulgent.
And I'd enjoyed it more.
Yes. Yeah. It felt self-indulgent.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? No, I'll take that as a no.
I think I said everything.
All right. So the final thoughts are, I'm not going to give star rating or anything, but I really liked it. I liked it, and I like it so much because I want it to be better. I wanted it to be. It's not his best by any stretch of the imagination. My favorite is still Inglourious Basterds or Pulp Fiction, somewhere between the two, depending on how I'm feeling. But I do really want it to be better.
Yeah.
If I'm in a Nazi killing mood.
Yeah.
And the same. I thought it was fantastic visually. It's a real blockbuster. It really is. And we shouldn't forget that. But by far and away, there were too many big holes for me, and I felt after a while I was watching somebody's kind of self-indulgent little dance.
But brilliant. So good. So brilliant. That's Hateful Eight. And now we're going to move on to our next segment, which is essentially what have we been watching. Yes. It can be in the last month, last week, whatever you think has really been interesting which you've watched. So
let's start with Claire.
Right. You guys
so it's a little bit older, more last couple of months. But because of my line of work again being into history, I've been watching The Celts, which is a BBC 2 series, and history can be very, very boring.
So, sorry, is it a drama or is it a documentary?
So it's factual documentary.
Okay, yeah.
But interestingly for history, what they've done in between, you've got two presenters and they're both very dynamic. There's young, old, male, female. They both bring different specialisms to it, but as well as the historical analysis, you've got big drama reconstructions in the middle.
I think I've seen this. Is this where they go through, I think I've watched an episode, is this where they have like the bread and they're looking through the different ways the bread was made?
There might have been.
Yeah, I did watch something very similar to that then.
And there's these big scenes with the sort of Celtic hordes on Romans and big fights, and those some of those scenes are so filmic, and they're beautifully done. And I think that for me, a lot of people kind of get worried that history is sort of dying art in television.
Yeah.
It can be very dry, the sort of presenter talking, it can be very dull. And I think that these inclusions of this cinematic segments really, really have kind of brought history to life again in a way that I thought just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I uncover an astonishing new theory based on archaeology and the study of ancient inscriptions from Portugal about where the Celts originated and what it means to be Celtic.
Dan, what about you? What have you been watching?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Well, you told me SpongeBob SquarePants earlier. So
I'm watching a lot of SpongeBob SquarePants. In the film world, I guess, at the moment, but for very good reason, I've been watching lots of old rom-coms, which I won't go into now because there's a whole big thing.
Next time.
I'm working on a feature rom-com, and also my next short film is a rom-com happening very soon. So I've been watching all of the classics. I guess I've been watching... I just actually finally got round to watching Broadchurch.
Oh, wow,
which I had not watched before, and I know that's really sacrilege.
I've bought it on DVD.
It is incredible.
Okay.
Incredible. You need to watch it. It's such a good... it's just so good. The whole sense of place, and David Tennant and Olivia Colman are amazing.
He's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, he's brilliant in everything he does. And on that I guess on that line, I've been watching Jessica Jones as well.
I watched the first episode, and because the thing is, you don't expect it from Marvel. You think Marvel's fairly, they're going to play tame. They're not going to have these kind of elements of,
but not so much with their TV shows. Like Daredevil was. Also
exactly. Daredevil was really heavy, and
but I think what I really liked about it was it's a little long, maybe, and they drag it out longer than maybe they need to, because it's really just one arc that's going on. But the performances from David Tennant and Christian Ritter and everyone involved really is brilliant, and it's such a fun show. And David Tennant's villain is just so.
Yeah, I think he plays a great villain, and also like a kind of great. Kind of tortured hero.
Tortured is always the word that I think of when I watch his. Did you see him in? He was in The Single Father, which was a sort of BBC. I think it was a Channel 5 dramatization years ago. I think it was just 1 or 2 episodes, but that was fantastic and much overlooked actually. It was
I haven't had a chance to watch it, but again, because I kind of grew up with David Tennant because I watched Doctor Who as a child, so I'll always kind of love him. As a young boy, I was like 10. I was 10 years old. That's a child. 10 years old as a child.
I just remember watching it. I wasn't a child.
I wasn't a child. Let's get rid of this one.
You guys are older than me. You oldies. Anyway.
Absolutely. But other than that, I was trying to think of a film to watch rather than just comment on TV, because we're talking about movies.
I've been watching.
It's just been rom-coms for me. So
I've been watching because the season 4 trailer for House of Cards released. So I kind of wanted to finish off House of Cards season 3 just to catch up. And I don't know if anyone's been watching House of Cards.
I would like to know why I should watch it though.
So
please educate me.
The third season is not the best. The first 2 seasons, the second season's maybe one of the best things I've seen on TV. I don't know if web series, TV, whatever you want to call House of Cards. It's a bit wordy in terms of like political jargon, because again it's also a political system.
Is there kind of subtext behind it? Like, are there reasons
it's very emotional. It's driven by emotion and character rather than really political motivation.
That's just the setting.
Yeah, that's just a setting. But I think it's also a political system we're not very familiar with, because it's we're in England and the USA is slightly different.
I mean, how I would sum it, it's Othello.
Okay, right.
But modern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the main character is Iago, and you're following him seduce you as an audience into all of his bad doings, and you follow him the whole way, and you're still rooting for him, and then towards the end you're like, I've sided with the wrong person. Yeah. This guy is evil.
And there's some great bits, because the great thing it does, which I think is very imaginative for this kind of TV show, is that he'll just look at you. He'll just turn over to you and he'll be like, so this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do this horrible thing. And he'll break the fourth wall and he'll talk straight at you. Okay. And I was really caught off guard when he does that, because it's a really interesting, and it's a new way to kind of communicate.
It's every time that you are at any point questioning his morality, or questioning that you're tearing away from him as a character, he brings you back.
He's essentially trying to appeal to you.
It's quite confrontational as well.
Very.
I'd definitely give it a watch. It's one of the better things on Netflix. I would definitely say.
They say we get the leaders we deserve. I think America deserves Frank Underwood. And in your heart, you know I'm right.
We're going to wrap up now. So is there anywhere we can find you on the web, or is there anything you're working on?
So I'm actually working on a video blog series about wine and drinks.
Oh, wow.
So there'll be mainly more kind of like historical drinks and things that we can kind of enjoy on a budget as well. So kind of weird and wonderful things from the world of booze.
Okay.
And that's going to be called A Quick Sip.
And is that on YouTube?
Nothing currently on the internet. So I'm in the editing phase at the moment,
Okay.
and so hopefully in the next few months things will be up online.
Okay.
So look for Florence Rowland. Look for Quick Sip.
Yeah, we'll put that in the comments, the description rather. Dan, what about you?
I guess I'm getting into the crux of this year's project. So at the moment at my company Poseidon Studios, we are in pre-production for our first feature film, which will be coming out, which we're shooting probably in the summertime this year, which will be very exciting. So it's almost coming together. About to do my next short film as a writer-director, which is shooting this month. And we'll be going off to festivals and all of that, and then eventually on release. And other than that, I guess what's coming online lately, I've been shooting a web series called The Young Professionals, which you know about.
I know about. I've been on the crew.
You've been on it. And we have 4 episodes in, with the 5th episode being filmed at the end.
And you can find that on YouTube at The Young Professionals.
At The Young Professionals.
Okay.
which is also the name of a band, so it's quite hard to find, but keep searching to find it. And also a web series I shot last year called Career Boy, which is going to be fantastic. Will hopefully be coming out this year as well. So bits and pieces.
Yeah, and do you have a place on the web?
Well, yeah, I mean dannemmons.com, which I'm sure you'll find in the description below.
Yeah.
Or poseidonstudios.com.
Okay,
either
brilliant.
Of those
So yeah, we'll get those on. I'm just, I'm working on some things with you actually, and setting all this up. This is gonna, my production and making sure it works, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. Like us on our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, like this video, do all the things, and we'll hope to see you soon. So enjoy Hateful Eight, or hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?